It was a storm-choked night in mid-October when Adam Cole's rusted pickup truck broke down just outside a near-forgotten Appalachian town called Black Hollow, a name that didn't even show up on Google Maps. He'd taken a wrong turn on his way to a construction gig in West Virginia and ended up deep in the woods where the trees clawed at the sky and the fog rolled across the ground like creeping phantoms. There was no phone signal, no houses in sight, just a cracked asphalt road, suffocated by nature. The only light came from his truck's flickering hazard lights and the occasional flash of lightning that ripped the sky open. Adam was a practical man, no time for ghost stories. But something about this place, it pressed against his chest like a weight he couldn't explain. He decided to walk. A mile or so later, he saw a light through the fog, a dim lantern glow swaying back and forth. As he approached, the form of an old woman emerged. She wore a tattered shawl, and her eyes, milky and unfocused, stared directly at him as if she'd been waiting. "You're not supposed to be here," she croaked. Adam forced a polite smile. "Truck broke down. I just need a phone." The woman turned slowly and gestured toward the woods. "No phones in Black Hollow, but you can follow the lanterns." Before he could protest, she disappeared into the trees. Against his better judgment, he followed. Small lanterns began appearing one after another, hanging from trees, lighting a narrow path deeper into the forest. He walked for what felt like hours, but time grew slippery in the heavy fog. Then he saw it. A massive Victorian house, gray as tombstone, 3 stories tall, windows dark as pitch. The porch sagged like a tired spine. One lantern burned above the door. The woman was gone, but the door opened by itself. Inside, the house smelled of damp wood and something sweet, decay hidden behind old perfume. Furniture draped in white sheets lined the hallway, but a fire crackled in the hearth of the parlor, and in front of it sat a child, no older than 7. She wore a faded nightgown, her feet bare and dirty. "You came late," she whispered, not turning around. "We've been waiting." Adam took a cautious step back. "Who's we?" The girl stood, finally facing him. Her face was pale, eyes sunken with black circles around them. And when she smiled, her teeth were too many, jagged, overlapping, unnatural. "Don't leave," she said softly. "They'll get angry." The room grew colder. The fire dimmed. Then came the voices, low murmurs from the walls, from the floorboards, from the very air around him, whispering things he couldn't understand. His skin crawled. He backed out of the room, heart pounding. In the hallway, the sheets began to move, slow twitching bulges underneath, as if something was waking up beneath them. One sheet slid to the floor, revealing a chair with deep scratch marks, and blood, dried black on the arms. Adam turned to run, but the hallway had changed. The door was gone. In its place was a staircase, winding down instead of up, leading into complete darkness. Behind him, the whispering grew louder, urgent. Feet, too many feet, pattered across the ceiling above. With nowhere else to go, Adam descended. The steps creaked beneath him. He descended deeper and deeper, past roots that broke through the stone walls, past old portraits that bled from the eyes until he reached the basement. It wasn't a basement. It was a chapel, underground, lit by flickering candles and skull-shaped sconces. Rows of pews faced a rotten altar, and on it lay a body wrapped in linen. Surrounding it were townsfolk, silent, unmoving, heads bowed. They were dead, their skin sagged, their mouths were sewn shut. Yet they breathed, each chest rising and falling in slow, rhythmic unity. Then the girl appeared again, this time floating above the altar, her limbs too long, neck craning like a serpent's. Her voice came from everywhere now. She died alone, forgotten, and so she cursed this place. Now we wait for new flesh. Adam turned to flee, but the townsfolk raised their heads. Their eyes were empty sockets, yet they saw him. They began to sing, not words, just low, vibrating tones that shook the ground and made Adam's bones ache. The walls began to close in, roots wrapped around his arms. He screamed, pulled, kicked. Finally, he broke free and ran. Through the dark, back up the stairs that twisted and warped beneath him. The house tried to stop him. Doors vanished, halls spun, portraits screamed, but he kept running. Eventually, he burst through a rotted wall, landing in the woods. The fog was gone. So was the house. He stumbled back to his truck at sunrise, covered in dirt and blood. A tow truck found him hours later, parked on a dead-end road that hadn't led to any town for over 50 years. No Black Hollow, no Victorian house, just woods, unbroken. He never went back, but sometimes, on quiet nights when storms roll in, he hears the whispers again, through the radio, in his dreams, in the cracks of the ceiling. The girl had said it best. We've been waiting. They say no one leaves Widow's End after dark, not on foot, not by car, not even with a prayer. It's a forgotten town, tucked into the edge of a dying forest in upstate New York, with crumbling houses, rusting road signs, and a single diner that's been closed since 1984. The kind of place GPS can't guide you out of, where the trees seem too still, the silence too loud. Jack Mason never meant to stop there. He was driving through on his way to visit his brother in Syracuse. An uneventful stretch of road in the middle of a cold October evening. The sunset had bled across the sky, and he was racing against the night when he saw the Widow's Inn sign flash past his headlights. He didn't even remember making a turn. One moment he was on Route 28, the next his tires were crunching on an unfamiliar gravel road flanked by tall, watching pines. He glanced at his phone, no signal. It was then he noticed the fuel light blinking. A mile in, his car sputtered to a stop right in front of a sagging general store. The windows were boarded up, paint flaking off like dead skin. But a single light was on inside, yellow and dim like an old candle. He cursed under his breath, stepped out into the crisp air, and approached the store. The bell above the door gave a lifeless clink as he stepped inside. The place smelled like dust and rot. Shelves were mostly bare, lined with cobwebs and cans decades out of date. Behind the counter sat an old man with a pale face, dressed in a moth-eaten flannel and staring at a black and white TV that showed only static. "You picked a bad night to stop," the man said, not looking up. Jack cleared his throat. "Ran out of gas. Just need directions or a gas can. Anything to get me out of here." The man finally looked up. His eyes were the color of wet ash, and his expression didn't change. "No one leaves Widow's End after sundown. Not anymore." Jack gave a half smile. "Is that local legend, or?" The man held up a shaky finger. "You see that light?" He pointed toward the far end of the street, where a small house with a flickering porch light barely stood out in the fog. "That's the last light in town. When it goes out, they come." Jack paused. "Who's they?" The man's voice dropped to a rasp. "The hollow folk, dead things, shriveled up in the woods, hungry for warmth, for breath. That light, it keeps them back. It's the only one they can't touch." Jack looked out the window. The fog was getting thicker. "Okay, man, I don't know what kind of prank this is, but..." The man grabbed his wrist suddenly, cold, skeletal fingers digging into his skin. "Get to the house, stay in the light. Don't open the door, no matter what you hear. Jack pulled away, heart hammering. You need help, old man. But the store was empty now. The chair behind the counter sat still, rocking slowly. There was no old man, no TV, just silence. Jack stumbled outside. The fog had swallowed the street, and he could barely make out his car. Panic twisted in his gut. He turned toward the house at the end of the lane, the one with the flickering light. He ran. Each step seemed to stretch the road farther. His breath came in sharp gasps as the cold grew teeth. The shadows moved with him, long, sinewy figures in the mist. He could hear them now, low whispers, nails scraping across wood, the sound of breath, but not his own. He didn't look back. He reached the porch just as the light above buzzed and went out. Everything stopped. The silence that followed was absolute. Then slowly, horribly, came the first knock from the window beside him. Jack spun around. The window was empty, but the knock came again, this time from the opposite side. Then again, and again. Every wall, every door, every glass surface in the house. Knock, knock, knock. In unison, as if dozens of invisible hands pressed against the house, waiting. He tried the door. It was unlocked. Inside, the air was warm, stale. The furniture was covered in sheets like a house waiting for its family to return. The lights inside flickered weakly. And in the center of the living room sat a girl, no older than 10. Blonde hair tangled, eyes wide, knees drawn to her chest. Jack froze. She looked up. You made it. Good. Who are you? Jack asked. She didn't answer directly. They come when the light dies. They like voices. They like pretending. Jack blinked. What? They'll sound like your mother, your dog, your thoughts. They'll scream your name until you answer. A crash came from the kitchen. Jack jumped. The girl didn't flinch. Don't go in there. Jack whispered, Is there anyone else in this house? She shook her head. Just me, for now. Then came the crying. Soft at first, from upstairs. A woman sobbing, calling Jack's name. Jack, please, help me. His blood ran cold. That's not real. The girl nodded. They know what scares you. Jack backed into the hallway. Every window was black, like the night itself was pressing against the glass. The crying continued, now followed by footsteps above. Heavy, slow. The girl whispered, If you go up there, you won't come back. But he had to know. He crept up the stairs, each step groaning under his weight. The hallway above stretched too far, longer than it should have been. Every door was closed, except one, his childhood bedroom. How? Inside, a woman stood by the bed, his mother. But she died 3 years ago. She turned, smiling. Jack, baby, I missed you so much. He didn't move. You're not real. She stepped forward, skin peeling from her cheek, voice bubbling like boiling water. Open the door, Jack. Let me in. He ran, down the stairs past the girl, who was now standing, face pale, eyes pitch black. They're already inside, she whispered. The knocking had stopped. Now came the breathing, wet, hoarse breathing from every direction. Shapes moved behind the curtains, under the floorboards, in the mirror. Faces formed in the walls, moaning, whispering, shrieking. Jack ran to the basement, locked the door. It was pitch black. Then a light turned on. A single bare bulb swung above, revealing dozens of dolls, broken, eyeless, burned, all facing one direction, the far wall, where another door stood. Jack didn't remember seeing it before. He approached. Behind it, something whispered. His name, again and again. Jack, Jack, Jack. He opened the door. Inside was not a room. It was a tunnel. Earth walls, wet, twitching roots. And at the end, something glowing. He stepped inside. The tunnel pulsed like it was breathing. Whispers crawled through the soil. Insects moved beneath his feet. Then he saw it, a massive twisted tree, its trunk shaped like a mouth, wide open, with human teeth embedded in the bark. From the mouth hung bodies, hundreds, all still, all watching. They opened their eyes. Jack turned to run, but the tunnel was gone. The light vanished. Only the whispers remained. "Stay with us. Be still. Be hollow." He screamed, clawed at the earth. Then he woke, on the floor of the house. Sunlight spilled through the window. The girl was gone. No furniture, just dust and silence. He stumbled outside. His car was waiting, full tank, no damage, no fog. He drove away without looking back. But even now, years later, he doesn't sleep without a light on. Because sometimes, just as he closes his eyes, he hears it. The knock and the whisper. "Let me in."